Good morning, team. Thank you for joining us. It's Tuesday, August 24th. I'm Amy Kaur, and I'm joined by Kevin Van Eck. We are back from vacation, and we are live out of the Goose Island office. I want to give a huge shout out to Jim Barcelona and Trisha Roberto, who filled in for us while we were out of town last week. I think we can all say they did an amazing job covering coffee. All right, well, it's that time. So grab your coffee, your tea, your power smoothie, your lemon water, or I'm going to give a tryout to the Diet Coke that Trisha Roberto drinks every morning. Kevin, maybe you can join me, but let's jump into our next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
Well, after seeing what they did in the western suburbs, and Jim and Trisha, I mean, they did a wonderful job, right? Filling in for us. So we do have a Diet Coke. We do have a lemon water. And the one thing we didn't have in our offices was alcohol, but apparently that's normal in the western suburbs. Just stocking your office with tequila. The one thing we could come up with was an airline bottle of gin. So here we go with today's topic. We've seen how the market has supported so many of our growth this year. It's been really amazing. We've talked about creating exposure to keep it going, to keep this momentum and velocity going, and using the tools available to drive those referrals. Specifically, the easy ways that we can continue to foster relationships, create exposure to keep that referral business moving forward. And if we were to ask everyone watching, you watching this right now, would you like your business to slow down? Would you like your business to drop this fall and into 2022? Obviously, the answer likely is nobody would say, yes, I would like for my business to stop. So while we're ramping up our outreach and our marketing, we need to plan to grow. Even though the market may be normalizing just a teens, that doesn't mean that your business is going to drop. In fact, you're in control of it. That's the great thing about real estate. So what we do need to do is continue to plan for growth. And if you're feeling like this year so far has been running you wild, this is exactly what we need to do. We need to make sure that we are building for growth so that we don't burn ourselves out. And if this makes sense to you, hit that like button down below in the video right now. Today, we're going to talk about how to plan for that growth, specifically by focusing on the actions that will drive your business and not drive you by tying you up in tasks. So we have a 3-step plan that we're going to present today. We're going to analyze how you can work on your business, stay away from working in your business at the risk of losing business or your business dropping. So this plan is going to be really important, whether you are looking to grow a team, grow your team, grow yourself, but also if you're looking to come up with free time to actually enjoy your life.
That's right. Or free time to enjoy a Diet Coke. Trisha, I'm telling you, this is pretty good in the morning. All right. So the first step that we're going to talk about is what you do, or what are you doing right now? It's determining how you'll continue to grow by looking at what you're currently doing, what your schedule is right now. So I know that this sounds tedious, but this step is actually really necessary in order for you to then accomplish steps 2 and 3. The step is really helpful because it has you take a look at where are you spending your time right now. And once you figure out where you're spending all of your time, you can also determine whether or not you should consider using other resources. Do you actually need maybe a transaction coordinator to help with some of the back office stuff that you've got going on right now? Or is it possible that you could actually need a part-time or a full-time assistant? You've got to be able to figure out what you're doing and where your time is going to see if you can bring others in to support that. And maybe you're not at the point of having a part-time assistant or needing one yet, but maybe you could use some help with showings. So you could start creating some relationships with other brokers in your office or in your area to maybe help with some of the showings that you've got going on. And then what you might find is that you really just need to take a look at how am I organizing my time? I remember when I was selling, if I didn't have a good sense of how I was going to structure my day, it would be 8 a.m. And the next thing I know it would be 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And I wouldn't always recognize where I was spending my time. So it's really about figuring out, can I time block? Can I set some boundaries? Can I do some things to make sure I'm really taking a look at where I'm spending the best amount of my time in order to grow my business. I'm going to give you an example that I think is a really great one. And that is Holly Connors. She was on a few weeks ago with us for coffee, and she's a really phenomenal broker who probably about 8 years ago really took her business to the next level. And I asked her what she had done to make that change. And she said it was really simple. She actually took out a blank piece of paper and she drew down the middle of it with a line. And on the left side, she wrote all of the things that I'm good at and that I like to do. And then on the other half or the other side of the paper, she wrote down all of the things I'm not great at and I hate doing in my business. And she jotted those down. And what she was able to do is she was able to recognize all of the things that she was really good at in her business, like meeting with clients, going out and prospecting, being able to get new deals. She also recognized all of the things that she wasn't great at and didn't like to do. And those were things like the deal doctoring, the transaction coordination side of things. And once she was able to assess how she was spending her time and what she felt she was best at in her business, she then was able to come up with a game plan of how she was going to bring others in to support the things that she didn't necessarily want to or feel like it was in her best interest to focus on. So think about that. So what we'd like you to do is we want you to start tracking or logging all of the things that you're doing. And you can do it one of two ways. If you are liking to track things electronically, then it's really easy. You can just simply go onto your phone and pull up the Notes app. And what we'd like you to do is for the next week, if you can start logging all of the things that you are doing on a daily basis. And if you need to, if you're more like me, I like to write stuff down in a notebook, then track everything that you are doing for the week. Because what you want to start recognizing is, where am I spending my time? Another great app is on the iPhone. There is a screen time function that can actually show you where you're spending time when you're on your phone. So if you are spending way too much time on any apps like Facebook or Instagram, it's going to be able to tell you that, but it may lead you to getting a better sense of, where am I spending my time every day? So step one is taking the time to figure out where you're spending your time every day and logging it for a week. Once you do that, then you're going to be able to step into the next step that Kevin's going to talk about.
That's right. We're going to get to step two. But first, Jim, I just want to congratulate you. Your hair did look great last week. Don't think that we didn't notice. And you did a wonderful job making sure it was styled perfectly before you took a sip of tequila at 7:15 a.m. All right. Step two, reviewing what you do. This is important. Amy just talked through how to take and track what you do. We're going to review it now. So whether it was digital or it's in a notebook or on a notepad, wherever you logged your time, we're going to analyze it. Take that, and we're going to put a note by each one of the tasks that you completed for that week or 2 weeks, if you did it for 2 weeks. We're going to use the Ninja system called P.I.E time. Now listen closely. This is really easy. P.I.E time. Each activity that is in your log gets either a P, an I, or an E. So let's talk about P. P stands for productive. There are really three main ingredients that are needed for P, or productive time. And that means you, a client, and a contract or a listing agreement. So for productive, what this means is these are the listing presentations. These are the buyer meetings. They could be buyer tours because they lead typically to a contract. So with that, these are the things, when we mark them as P, that largely we will be doing ourselves, that we will continue to do ourselves because they are with a client and they typically result in a contract. And that means that they're critical to our business growth. When we get to I means indirectly productive. This is also important. This is also something that we will likely want to keep doing. So as you're marking down on your tasks, you're going to put an I by anything that leads to P time. So anything that gets an I could be things like prospecting, weekly outreach calls to our buyers and sellers. This is really where you foster relationships. This could be where you write handwritten notes. These are where you do pop buys. These are all the things that get I's. Now remember, the I's are things that lead to P's. So if you're doing handwritten notes and you're doing pop buys, that typically could result in a referral, which leads to a listing presentation, which leads to potentially a contract and a sale. So I's and P's, we have those covered. What's E then? E is everything else. E is what we most likely are going to be able to give up to an assistant or pay someone temporarily or just for specific tasks to do. They don't lead to business growth. Good examples are getting keys made. Good examples are going and installing a sign writer. Good examples are doing other things that don't lead to relationship growth and business growth. So for each activity, mark down a P, an I, or an E next to it: productive, indirectly productive, or everything. Put that by each task, and then we can move on to step 3, which Amy's going to tell us about now.
That's right, Kevin. And I love the pie analysis. I think it's just such an easy way for somebody to really break down what they're doing and what they're working on. And let's face it, I bet a lot of us have things in the E that we are spending a lot of time on. So let's decide what we need to do. That's step 3. Okay. We've been able to log what we're doing. Now we're analyzing that log, breaking it down into PI or E. So let's determine how much time you're spending on the everything else, or the E's, especially in comparison to the I time, because the I time, the indirectly productive time, is really what's going to lead to the P's, which is the productivity, which is getting more deals, getting more clients, and obviously increasing our business and the income that we are receiving, right? You want to be able to grow your business, then you're going to need to be able to pull that I lever. But what ends up happening is the E's, or the everything else, tends to get in the way. So we want to make sure that we are freeing up our time so that we can work on the I's and the P's. And if your day is already full with P's and I's and E's, and you're feeling like you're having a hard time, then we need to start figuring out, how do we offload this, right? If we're looking at our list of E time, who can I hire, or who can I bring in to start removing some of those things? As Kevin had mentioned, is your best use of time running out and getting keys made? Do you always have to be the first person to show a property? Can your first showings be sent out, or can you have somebody else be doing these activities so you can be focusing on the things that are more important, which is the more significant P activity and the more significant I activity? So you want to start figuring that out now. And if you find that your day is full of all of these E activities, then you have to also decide, are there things that I can stop doing? Are there things in the E activities that are just a complete waste of my time? And how can I be structuring my day, or essentially time blocking, so that I don't get distracted by E activities? That happens to all of us. You kind of plan for your day, and then sometimes things present themselves and we can get distracted. But the more that you put some structure around what you're doing every day, and when you start recognizing that these E activities can actually be distributed out to others, that's going to be impactful for you. And there's different ways that you can attack or go after the E's. You might not be in a position where right now you can hire an assistant. We've got @assist, which is a great way for you to be able to offload some of those activities. We also have showing concierge help that you can access. So think about things that are available to you, even if you are not necessarily ready to take that huge step of hiring a full-time assistant. But the more that you start figuring out how to offload the E activities so that you can focus on P and I, is going to make a huge difference for you. Kevin and I had gotten an email from an agent who was talking about how he had gone on vacation and spent 5 or 6 hours of his day on vacation working. That happens to all of us. What you want to start thinking about is, how can I change that? How can I still create an extremely successful business and allow myself to manage the business instead of the business managing me? The first thing that you can do is start with these 3 steps. Identify what's going on in your business and what you're doing now. Then take steps to figure out what's productive, what's indirectly productive, and what is all of the extra activities that I don't need to do. And then the third is take action. Start figuring out how to readjust your schedule so that you can focus on the things that matter most, and you can start pulling on those levers that are going to create a great trajectory for you. You've got complete control over this. All you have to do is take the time to actually look at your business and figure out how you want it to look moving forward.
That's so great. You're right. Pie time, pulling the levers, right? Anytime, if you want your business to grow, do more I time. And this really gives you an indicator on your log that shows you what you've been doing that creates your business. It's really great. So for now, we've given you those 3 steps that Amy just reiterated, and they're going to help you look at where you're spending your time and being able to grow. The end goal of all of this, there's 2 of them, really, 2 goals that you're going to reach simultaneously by going through this process. The first is you're going to keep the velocity going in your business. It's going to continue growing regardless of what happens in the market. And the second is that you will continue or create your ability to actually have a life outside of real estate, to have a life with your family, to have a life with your friends, to enjoy time without having to spend 5 hours every day on vacation working. So with that, thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you for watching. If you haven't watched Jim and Trisha's episode from last week, please do. It was a good one. And if you enjoy Coffee with Amy and Kevin, click that like button down below. If you can relate to this episode, click that like button down below, and also leave a comment for us on how your goals are helping you reach growth, what you are doing to pull the levers of P-I-N-E time.
Sounds great, Kevin. I'm feeling fully caffeinated. So all of you, make it a great day. Stay caffeinated this week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.